Hey everybody, Lakes Region Aquariums here today. Today I'm going to be talking about a species finally. It's been a long time since I did an actual species video, so I'm going to be talking about the Siamese Algae Eater today. So the reason I usually buy these guys is for a job to do in the aquarium, and a lot of times people do buy these guys to do a job in their aquarium as well. And that job is to, like their name says, remove algae. So these guys do really well at removing some of the most notorious algae you'll ever deal with, like blackbeard algae. For me, it's the hair algae. Can't stand that one. And they do a really good job at removing those. I mean, as soon as you put them in the tank, that's really what they go for. They're really cool fish, and they're not really the most visually appealing fish, but they do a really good job at what they do. Like I said, they're not really a show fish. It's a fish that's really in your tank to do a specific job. And doing that job they're really good at. So they are just built to kind of get into any little crevice. Their little torpedo bodies that will allow them to fit into. They're pretty agile if you watch them graze around, and the way they twist and turn into little cracks and stuff in rocks and driftwood and stuff like that. They really just make quick work of all algae that's trying to hide from them. So algae can only hide for so long from these guys. These guys do a really good job at removing the algae. These guys get kind of big. Honestly, I've seen some, and I have footage of one that's like 6 inches long in the local fish store. Thing is a monster, but that is just that's how big they can get. It's crazy how big they can get. But even when they get that big, I mean, just to picture the algae that they can remove for you in a larger aquarium. You know, if you're dealing with a huge 125 or something like that, and you got some algae problems with some of your monster fish in there, then these guys can definitely make quick work of that. So, and even in a bigger tank, you could have a whole bunch of smaller ones. I mean, it'd be really cool to just see them all going after the algae. That'd be really cool to see. Now, however, you do want to be kind of careful with these guys. I have seen in my lifetime just a couple of them, but it is known that they are a little bit more on the aggressive side. So you want to be careful of that. They can totally be fin nippers. I can see that happening. And I've seen personally with my fish just kind of being a little testy. They'll shoo away, you know, other bottom dwellers and stuff like that. They'll just go after them if they get a little too close. But one of them I did see a few years back was just straight up aggressive. So you want to just make sure you don't have one like that. Just be careful of their little attitudes. They really show that attitude when they get a little bit bigger and they get all that crazy confidence where they think they can take on the whole world. So just be mindful of that. Just keep a close eye on them as they age, and you should be good. It really is a basic fish. There's not a whole lot to keeping them. You're going to be looking at your regular pH ranges. You're going to be looking at salinity that's probably like 800 to 1500, I'd say, would be a comfortable area for them. But I'm sure that you could acclimate them to a different desired salt level as long as it's not too high. A healthy amount of nitrates, no nitrites, and ammonia. You want to just be careful of those, obviously, as for every fish you keep. Be careful of keeping them with Oscars and all that. I mean, the Siamese Algae Eater has such a streamlined body that it could just slide down an Oscar's gullet if it wanted to. So just want to be careful of keeping them with certain type of monster fish. I know I did say you could keep them in your monster fish earlier in the video, but just be mindful of who it's in the tank with. So the biggest thing with these fish is yes, they eat their algae, and that's their job to do in the tank. That's their only job to do in the tank. Some people buy them for the schooling behavior, which they're not exactly good at. They will school up with each other, but when it comes to eating algae, they kind of do their own thing and find their own algae. But the biggest thing with these guys is making sure they do continue to eat algae, because if they don't, they sometimes can transfer over to your fish food and rely on that more so than algae. Like in my tank upstairs with Meg, they actually stopped eating algae. They really only wait for fish food because I overfeed that tank in a way. So I do put a good amount of food in there for the fish I'm keeping in there, and those guys just happen to eat a lot of the fish food in there, and then they start eating all that fish food, and they're like, why would I even go after algae anymore? I'm just gonna keep eating this fish food. It's way better than algae. You don't want them to know that. You don't want them to ever find that out. So you want to feed your tanks a lot lighter, and not only will feeding your tanks a lot lighter reduce algae in the first place, but it's also going to keep the Siamese Algae Eaters eating the algae like they're supposed to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something about the Siamese Algae Eater. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.